60 Minutes has a sterling reputation for investigative journalism. Are they wrong?
But that's not investigative journalism if you change someone's answers.
All
If you ask her a question and she comes with a rambling answer that doesn't make sense, and you edit that out and insert another answer to a different question that seems more cogent. No, but it's not that. It's editing things to make deceptive editing.
Joe,
so in deceptive editing,
I don't
you
know
give people a different perception of who this candidate is than reality.
But you got to explain.
But that's not objective journalism.
I know, but
that's campaigning for that person.
Joe Rogan recently challenged Bernie Sanders on his own podcast, and it made for a fiery exchange. Bernie seemed to expect a friendly chat, but Rogan brought tough questions and kept it real, just like he always does. It's a reminder of why Rogan's podcast remains a top spot for honest conversation, regardless of politics. I've got the full breakdown, so hit that like button, and let's get into it.
Musk, and I know Elon was on your show, and he's here in Austin, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And we could talk about Elon, but he spent $270 million to elect Trump as president. Okay. I think that's absurd that any one person...
What's the most someone donated towards the Harris campaign?
They spent a lot of money on Harris as well.
They spent $1.5 billion just
combined
over the course of a couple of months.
You got it. All right, let me talk about it. So I'm not here just to say it's a Republican. That's my point here.
This is what happens when someone spends too much time in an echo chamber. Bernie Sanders, used to platforms that echo his criticism of Trump and the wealthy, seemed to assume Joe Rogan's show would be no different. That was a misstep. When Sanders criticized Elon Musk for reportedly donating over $200 million to Trump, Rogan quickly pointed out that Vice President Kamala Harris raised $1.5 billion in just a few months. Suddenly, Sanders shifted gears, dodging the comparison like a seasoned politician under pressure. That's the power of Rogan's show. It's not a one-sided conversation. It's where narratives are tested and facts speak louder than talking points. Next, Voice 3. This was a moment worth watching. After being challenged by Joe Rogan, Bernie Sanders tried to shift the conversation, this time criticizing Donald Trump for suing 60 Minutes over their editing.
The other lawsuit with the conversation that they had with Kamala Harris, where they edited the answers that she had to make it look more precise.
60 Minutes, they were suing 60 Minutes.
Yes.
Is, to my mind, historically, even around for a very long time, they're not infallible. But I think you look at most objective people will say 60 Minutes has a sterling reputation for investigative journalism. Are they wrong?
But that's not investigative journalism if you change someone's answers. If you ask her a question and she comes with a rambling answer that doesn't make sense, and you edit that out and insert another answer to a different question that seems more cogent.
Sanders tried a familiar tactic, emotional appeal. He told Joe Rogan, if you support what Trump's doing, it could happen to you too, implying that criticizing media bias invites political backlash. But Rogan didn't take the bait. He calmly explained the difference between holding media accountable and attacking legitimate journalism. Being sued for fair reporting is a threat to press freedom. Acting as a partisan mouthpiece, however, invites criticism. Sanders may have hoped to shift the tone, but Rogan wasn't swayed. He didn't respond to pressure or guilt. Sanders came expecting an easy conversation, but Rogan came ready with tough questions.
You're walking down, you're walking down a dangerous path. Suing media has the impact of intimidating media. All right, if somebody sues you, all right, let me finish, all right?
Okay.
Somebody sues you, why not you? You could be sued tomorrow, right? Because you are doing this, you're too sympathetic to this.
Right.
And Joe, you did that, and they have a big law firm behind you, you're going to have to spend zillions of dollars defending yourself. You know what? Next time you do an interview, you say, maybe I'm not going to go in that area. Right?
No, but it's not that. It's editing things to make deceptive editing.
Joe,
in deceptive editing, you give people a different perception of who this candidate is than reality.
Right, but you got to explain.
But that's not objective journalism.
I know, but
that's campaigning for that person.
Right, but
would you agree with that?
And this is someone who wants to lead the country, a man who struggles to give clear answers when challenged. Bernie Sanders continues to show he's more focused on political drama than leadership. His constant fixation on Donald Trump often overshadows reason and fairness. Instead of addressing facts, he leans on emotion and outrage. Trump is suing ABC and other outlets for allegedly misrepresenting his campaign. That's not an attack on free speech. It's a challenge to what he claims is misinformation. There's a clear difference between reporting facts and shaping narratives to fit an agenda. But Sanders either doesn't see it or chooses not to. When it comes to Trump, his objectivity disappears, and that raises serious concerns about his ability to lead with consistency and integrity.
I don't have those details. I don't know that I agree with your analysis of it. I don't know enough.
I think that's universally accepted that that's what they did.
Then you got to tell me why he is suing ABC. Why he's suing Meta.
Let's just talk about the 60 Minutes one first.
No, but it's not just
we could go to ABC, but I'm not aware of that one either.
Well, George Stephanopoulos said something that he didn't like. But the point is,
what did Stephanopoulos say?
I can't remember. It was I honestly don't remember. But
I think what he was saying was factually incorrect about the results of one of Trump's trials.
All right. Guess what? If I were to sue everybody who said things that were factually incorrect about me, I'd be suing people zillions of times.
Joe Rogan once again gets it right. What stands out is how firmly he holds Bernie Sanders accountable. No soft questions, no easy outs. He challenges vague claims and pushes for real answers, the kind of honest conversation journalism should strive for. If more media followed Rogan's example, Americans would see more clearly who's authentic and who's just playing a role. Let's be clear. The government shouldn't punish the press. Free speech is essential. But when outlets repeatedly spread misinformation, there should be consequences, whether reputational or financial. Because unchecked falsehoods aren't journalism. They're manipulation. And the public deserves better. As we'll explore in this video,
concern is when you have media organizations that are purported to be objective, and then they say things that are defamatory and factually incorrect, and they should know that before they say it. What other course does a person have other than a lawsuit? And isn't it important that you shine the light on what is a political bias
then where
from an organization that you would hope would be objective?
Factual journalism is meant to prevent mistakes like this, but it seems MSNBC missed the mark. If they had reviewed the full interview before jumping to conclusions, they could have avoided the need to backtrack. Instead, they rushed to link Donald Trump to Vladimir Putin without verifying the full context. In doing so, they sidelined journalistic standards, objectivity, verification, and fairness. The result was a very public error that reflects a larger issue in modern media. Too often, outlets prioritize political narratives over facts. Until that changes, these retractions will keep happening and keep undermining public trust.
The fake news media is really hitting new lows, so eager to restart their debunked Russian conspiracy theories that they somehow managed to mix up this man, Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, with this dude, Vladimir Putin. Easy mistake to make if you've lost all reasoning, any semblance of objectivity. When you are an activist journalist for MSNBC, here are some of the corrections.
Last night, The Last Word reported on excerpts of an interview between the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and an Indian TV news network in which she said Trump was good friends with the world leader. Now, we said that world leader was Vladimir Putin, but the full interview was subsequently released, and it showed that Gabbard was referring to Donald Trump and the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi.
Are these really the media outlets Bernie Sanders is so quick to defend? Networks so clearly biased they no longer try to hide it. It's ironic. Sanders built his reputation on demanding fairness and equal treatment for all. Yet that standard seems to vanish when it comes to the media. Where's the call for balanced reporting? Where's the criticism when narratives take priority over facts? Instead, there's silence. It suggests Sanders isn't pushing for neutral journalism. He's backing media that align with his views. That's not standing for truth. It's protecting a narrative. If he truly valued integrity, he'd call out media bias as strongly as he does corporate influence. The fact that he doesn't speaks volumes.
Tulsi Gabbard mentions that Trump is good friends with a world leader, and they not only just assumed she's talking about Vladimir Putin, but then they report that as if it were fact on television. That's what happened. Let's hear one more correction from MSNBC on that issue.
Last night, we reported on excerpts of an interview between the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and an Indian TV news network, in which she said that Trump was good friends with a world leader. We said that world leader was Vladimir Putin, but the full interview shows that Gabbard was referring to Trump and Indian Prime Minister Modi. Clear that up.
While Bernie Sanders was busy sidestepping tough questions on Joe Rogan's podcast, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz made headlines for something just as strange, challenging Republican men to a physical fight. Yes, really. Instead of leading with principle, Walz resorted to macho posturing, talking about changing truck tires as if that defines manhood. But real masculinity isn't about flexing. It's about courage, responsibility, and standing for truth, even when it's unpopular. Unfortunately, performative politics has replaced real conviction for some leaders. From Sanders dodging Rogan's challenges to Walz's theatrics, cracks are showing. Americans are beginning to see through the noise. What we need isn't spin or spectacle. We need honesty, accountability, and real leadership. Thankfully, voices like Rogan's are helping to cut through the performance. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button.
Worst vice presidential candidate we have seen, the uniquely awful Tim Walz, Tampon Tim. Remember him? He had all sorts of delusions of being vice president. Now he has delusions of being a presidential candidate, and he thinks he's a tough guy. Here he responds to media pundits who mocked his lack of masculinity.
How do you fight it?
This
I think I could kick most of their ass. I do think if they wanted to. I know I can outrun them, but I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we want to. Okay, we challenge you to a WWE fight here type of thing.
Good luck with that, Tim. I think Judge Janine has you covered.